The thing about betrayal is that it rarely announces itself with fanfare. It creeps into your life wearing the face of someone you trust, speaking with a voice you've loved, making demands that shatter everything you thought you knew about your life. For Simone Harris, that moment arrived on a Tuesday evening after a double shift at County General Hospital, when she walked through her front door and found her husband Derek sitting at their kitchen table with her bank statements spread out in front of him like accusations. "We need to talk about your savings account," Derek said without looking up. Simone set down her purse, her nursing shoes still squeaking slightly from the hospital floors. Her feet ached, her back hurt, and she'd spent the last 16 hours caring for patients who actually appreciated her. The last thing she wanted was a financial discussion with a man who'd contributed exactly nothing to their household in the past year. What about it? She moved toward the refrigerator, looking for the leftovers she'd been dreaming about for the last 3 hours. "I need you to withdraw $50,000. Simone's hand froze on the refrigerator handle. She turned slowly, searching Derek's face for any sign that this was some kind of joke. His expression remained serious, almost businesslike. This was the same man she'd married 8 years ago, the same man who'd promised to build a life with her. But somewhere along the way, that man had disappeared, replaced by the stranger who sat in her kitchen making impossible demands. "Excuse me?" Simone's voice came out calmer than she felt. Years of nursing had taught her to stay composed even when her insides were screaming. 50,000. I need it by Friday." Derek finally looked at her, and what Simone saw in his eyes made her stomach turn. There was no guilt, no uncertainty. Just entitlement. For what? Simone walked to the table and sat down across from him, forcing herself to breathe steadily. The bank statements were hers. The savings account was hers. She'd opened it before they got married, and she'd been the only one making deposits. Every extra shift, every holiday she'd worked while Derek stayed home, every birthday and Christmas where she told her family not to buy her gifts so she could save instead. "That's not really your concern." Derek gathered the papers, stacking them neatly. "We're married. What's yours is mine. I need the money and you're going to get it for me." "For what?" Simone repeated, her voice harder now. Derek sighed like she was being difficult. "If you must know, it's for Amber's birthday party. Her 30th is a big deal and I promised her something special." The words hit Simone like a physical blow. Amber. The name she'd heard whispered by neighbors, mentioned by Derek's coworker who'd called the house by mistake, seen flash across Derek's phone screen when he thought she wasn't looking. For months, Simone had pushed away the suspicions, telling herself she was imagining things, that Derek wouldn't do that to her. But here it was, laid out as casually as a grocery list. "Your mistress." Simone said it flatly, not a question. "Don't be dramatic." Derek stood up, tucking her bank statements into his pocket like they belonged to him. "Amber is important to me and I made a commitment. The party is Friday at the Pearl. Everything's already booked. Caterers, DJ, premium bar, the whole thing. She's expecting it. You promised my money to your mistress for her birthday party." Simone spoke slowly, making sure she understood correctly. $50,000 of my money. Stop calling it your money. We're married. Derek's jaw tightened. Besides, what do you need it for? You just work and come home. You never spend anything on yourself. At least this money will go towards something meaningful. Simone stood up, her chair scraping against the kitchen floor. Meaningful? You think funding your affair is meaningful? I'm not arguing about this. Derek moved toward the door. I need that money by Friday. Go to the bank tomorrow and make the withdrawal. I'll text you the account number to transfer it to. And if I don't? Derek turned back, and for the first time Simone saw something dangerous in his expression. Then I'll do it myself. I have your account information, Simone. I've had it for a while now. I'm giving you the courtesy of making the withdrawal yourself, but either way, Amber's getting her party. He walked out, leaving Simone standing in their kitchen, surrounded by the life she'd built and the marriage she'd believed in. The refrigerator hummed. The clock on the wall ticked. Everything looked the same as it had that morning when she'd left for work, but everything had changed. Simone walked to her bedroom and opened her laptop. She logged into her bank account, her fingers shaking. The balance showed $53,847.32. 12 years of saving. 12 years of working overnight shifts because they paid more. 12 years of packing lunch instead of buying it, of driving her old car instead of upgrading, of saying no to vacations and new clothes and all the small luxuries her coworkers enjoyed. She checked her account activity. There were login attempts from an IP address she didn't recognize, all within the past month. Derek hadn't been lying. He'd been accessing her account, studying her savings, planning how to take it. Simone closed her laptop and sat in the darkness of her bedroom. The house was silent. Derek hadn't come home. He was probably with Amber right now, celebrating his victory, confident that Simone would comply like she always did. Comply when he quit his job. Comply when he stopped contributing to bills. Comply when he started coming home late or not at all. But something had shifted inside Simone when Derek said those words. What's yours is mine. As if her years of sacrifice meant nothing. As if she was just a bank account for him to raid while he built a life with someone else. Simone stood up and walked to her closet. In the back, behind her winter coats, was a small fireproof safe. Inside were documents she'd kept since before the marriage. Her nursing degree. The deed to the house that she'd bought with her own down payment. Her grandmother's jewelry. And something she'd forgotten about until this moment, a business card her friend Jerome had given her at their high school reunion 2 years ago. Jerome Williams. Family law attorney. Simone pulled out her phone and sent a text. Jerome, it's Simone Harris. I need a lawyer. Are you available tomorrow? The response came back within minutes. For you? Always. My office at 10? Simone confirmed and set down her phone. She opened her laptop again and took screenshots of every login attempt on her account, every statement, every transaction. Then she opened a new browser window and started researching divorce law, property rights, and asset protection. Derek thought he'd won. He thought Simone was the same woman who'd let him slide for the past year, who'd made excuses for him, who'd believed his promises to change. He thought she'd hand over her life savings to fund his mistress's party because she was too weak or too scared to say no. He was wrong. Simone worked through the night, documenting everything she could remember, every suspicious moment, every lie. When dawn broke and light filtered through her bedroom window, she'd filled 12 pages with notes. She took a shower, put on her best suit, and drove to her bank as soon as it opened. I need to speak with the manager about unauthorized access attempts to my account, she told the teller. By 9 o'clock, she'd secured her account with additional protection, changed all her passwords, and set up alerts for any activity. By 9:30, she'd opened a new account at a different bank and transferred all but $500. Let Derek check the balance now. At 10 o'clock sharp, she walked into Jerome's office. Simone. Jerome stood and hugged her, and for the first time since Derek's demand, Simone felt like she could breathe. Tell me everything. Simone sat down and began to talk, and as she spoke, she realized something important. She wasn't just angry. She wasn't just hurt. She was clear. Derek had made a mistake when he underestimated her. He'd thought she was weak, but she was a woman who'd worked her way through nursing school, who'd bought a house on her own, who'd survived 12-hour shifts and difficult patients and everything life had thrown at her. If Derek wanted a war over $50,000, he was about to discover he'd picked a fight with someone who knew how to survive. And more than that, someone who knew how to win. Jerome listened without interrupting, his lawyer face firmly in place, but Simone could see the anger building behind his eyes. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair and shook his head. He actually said, "What's yours is mine," and demanded you fund his mistress's party? Word for word. Simone pulled out her phone and showed him the screenshots from her bank account. Look at the login attempts. Different IP address, all from the past month. He's been planning this. Jerome studied the screen, his jaw tightening. This is financial abuse. The fact that he accessed your account without permission, that he's threatening to take the money regardless of your consent. Simone, this is serious. I know. Simone's voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. That's why I'm here. I need to know what I can do. What I should do. Jerome pulled out a legal pad and started taking notes. First, tell me about your assets. The house, you said you bought it before the marriage. 3 years before we got married. I saved for the down payment myself, and the mortgage is in my name only. Derek never contributed to it. Simone pulled out her folder of documents. She'd stopped at home after the bank to gather everything. Here's the deed, the mortgage statements, everything. Jerome reviewed the papers carefully. This is excellent. The house is your separate property. Even though you're married, he has no claim to it. What about the savings account? Same thing. You opened it before marriage, you're the only one who's made deposits, and you have documentation of all that. In this state, separate property remains separate. The fact that you got married doesn't automatically give him access to accounts you had before the marriage. Simone felt something loosen in her chest. So he can't just take it? Not legally. But Simone, we need to talk about something else. Jerome set down his pen and looked at her directly. Do you want to save this marriage? The question hung in the air. Simone thought about Derek sitting at their kitchen table, demanding her money for another woman's party. She thought about the login attempts, the lies, the months of suspicion she'd pushed aside because she'd wanted to believe in him. She thought about who she'd been when they met, young and hopeful, and who she'd become, working herself to exhaustion while he did nothing. No, she said quietly. I don't think there's anything left to save. Jerome nodded like he'd expected that answer. Then we need to move fast. You've already protected the savings account, which is smart. But we need to protect you in other ways. I want you to start documenting everything. Every conversation with Derek, every text message, every interaction. Keep a journal if you have to. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we file for divorce before he knows what's happening. We get ahead of this. You have the house in your name, your savings protected, and from what you're telling me, he hasn't contributed financially to the marriage in over a year. This should be straightforward, but men like Derek don't let go easily, especially when they realize their meal ticket is leaving. Simone pulled out her phone and opened her email. I need to show you something else I found this morning. She'd woken up at 5, unable to sleep, and had done something she'd never done before. She'd gone through Derek's laptop while he was still asleep. Years of being the good wife had kept her from invading his privacy, but those days were over. What she'd found had made her physically sick. He shares a cloud storage with Amber. Simone pulled up the screenshots she'd taken. Look at these emails. Jerome read through them, his expression darkening with each line. The emails went back months, showing a relationship that was far more than casual. But worse than the affair itself were the conversations about Simone. The wife finally agreed to work the holiday shifts, so that's an extra $3,000 this month. She never questions what I do with the money, so we're good. Simone's picking up another overnight shift next week. She thinks she's saving for a vacation, but I'm thinking new furniture for your place. What do you think? I checked her account again. She's up to $53,000. That should be enough for your birthday party and then some. Don't worry, I'll handle her. She's too soft to say no. Jerome's hands clenched around Simone's phone. They've been planning this. Actively plotting to steal your money. There's more. Simone swiped to another email. Amber works at the bank where I had my savings. She's the one who gave Derek my login information. That's how he got access. That's illegal. Jerome stood up and paced his office. That's a serious violation of banking regulations. She could lose her job, face criminal charges. I want her to. Simone's voice was cold. I want both of them to face consequences. Derek thinks I'm going to hand over my savings and just accept this. He thinks I'm weak. You're the furthest thing from weak. Jerome sat back down. Simone, you've worked your way through nursing school, bought a house, built a career. You've been supporting a grown man who contributes nothing. That's not weakness. That's loyalty, which he doesn't deserve. So what do? Jerome pulled out a fresh legal pad. We build a case. We document everything. And then we hit them with everything we've got. Divorce papers, criminal complaints against Amber for unauthorized account access, evidence of fraud. We make sure Derek gets nothing from you, and we make sure everyone knows exactly what they both did. Derek said the party is Friday at the Pearl. Good. That gives us 3 days to prepare. Jerome started writing. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to go home and act normal. Don't let him know anything has changed. Can you do that? Simone thought about the acting skills she developed as a nurse, staying calm while patients coded, smiling through insults from difficult families, pretending everything was fine when she was exhausted. Yes. Good. Meanwhile, I'm going to prepare divorce papers and file them with the court. We're also going to file a police report about Amber's unauthorized access to your account. Let me make some calls. I have connections at that bank. Simone spent the next hour going through everything with Jerome, signing papers, providing documentation. When she finally left his office, it was past noon and she was due at the hospital for her evening shift. But first she had somewhere else to go. The Pearl restaurant was in the downtown district, an upscale venue that hosted weddings and major celebrations. Simone had driven past it 100 times but never been inside. She walked through the front door and asked for the manager. I'm Nicole Davis. A woman in her 30s appeared, professional and polished. How can I help you? My husband booked an event here for Friday night. A birthday party for someone named Amber. Nicole's expression shifted slightly. You're Derek Harris's wife? You know him? He was here yesterday going over details. Nicole glanced around and then lowered her voice. Can we talk in my office? They walked through the restaurant to a small office in the back. Nicole closed the door and turned to Simone. I'm going to be honest with you. Your husband was here with his girlfriend. They were very open about their relationship. She was wearing a ring he gave her, and they were talking about plans for after the party. I'm sorry. Simone had expected the words to hurt more, but she'd moved past hurt into something colder and more focused. Thank you for telling me. Can I ask you something? Do you have security cameras? Throughout the restaurant. Why? Because I'm going to need footage from Friday night. Simone met Nicole's eyes. And I'm going to need your help. Nicole studied her for a long moment. What are you planning? I'm planning to make sure my husband and his girlfriend remember this birthday party for the rest of their lives. A slow smile spread across Nicole's face. My cousin married a man who cheated on her. She stayed and it destroyed her. I promised myself I'd never watch another woman go through that without helping if I could. What do you need? Simone laid out her plan. With each detail, Nicole's smile grew wider. By the time they finished, they'd exchanged numbers and Nicole had promised her full cooperation. This is going to be spectacular, Nicole said. No. Simone picked up her purse. It's going to be justice. Simone went to work her shift, moving through patient care with mechanical precision. Her hands knew what to do even when her mind was elsewhere, planning, calculating, preparing. Around midnight, her phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Did you go to the bank? She waited 10 minutes before responding. Yes. And? I need a few days. There are penalties for large withdrawals. I should have the money by Thursday. Fine. Don't mess this up, Simone. Amber is counting on this party. Simone stared at the text. Not we're counting on it, or even I'm counting on it. Amber was counting on it. Using Simone's money. Money she'd earned through nights of caring for sick patients while Derek slept peacefully at home or more likely in Amber's bed. She took a screenshot of the text and sent it to Jerome. Then she sent another message to Derek. I won't mess it up. I promise. And she meant it. She wasn't going to mess up Derek and Amber's party. She was going to make sure it was exactly what they deserved. When Simone got home at dawn, Derek was already awake and packing a bag. I'm staying at a friend's place until after the party, he said without looking at her. Amber's been stressed about the planning and I want to help her. Of course, Simone said. You should be there for her. It's her special day. Derek actually smiled. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. I know it's a lot of money, but Amber's worth it. We'll see. After the party, maybe the three of us can sit down and talk about how this is all going to work going forward. The three of us? Simone kept her voice neutral. Yeah. I mean, we need to figure out the living situation and finances and everything. Amber thinks maybe she could move in here since you're always working anyway. You'd hardly notice she was here. Simone forced herself to smile. We'll definitely talk about that. After the party. Derek left, and Simone watched from the window as he drove away in the car she'd bought, toward a future he thought he was building with her money. He had no idea that every word he'd just spoken had been recorded on her phone, that every plan he'd made was about to fall apart, that the woman he thought was too soft to fight back was 3 steps ahead of him. Simone went to her bedroom and opened her laptop. She had 3 days to prepare. 3 days to make sure everything was perfect. 3 days until Derek and Amber got exactly what was coming to them. And Simone was going to make sure they never forgot it. Wednesday morning arrived with rain against the windows, matching Simone's mood perfectly. She'd slept for 3 hours after her shift, her dreams full of bank statements and Derek's smirking face. But when she woke, she felt clearer than she had in months. Maybe years. Her phone showed 2 missed calls from Derek and a text. Make sure you get that money today. No more delays. Simone smiled and deleted the message without responding. Let him wait. Let him wonder. She had more important things to do. At 9 o'clock, she met Jerome at a coffee shop downtown, away from his office and any potential witnesses. He slid a folder across the table to her. Divorce papers. I've prepared everything. I also filed a police report yesterday about Amber's unauthorized access to your account. The bank's internal investigation started this morning. That fast. When someone violates banking regulations, they take it seriously. Plus, I called in a favor. Jerome sipped his coffee. My college roommate is a regional manager for that bank. He's very interested in this case. Simone opened the folder and read through the documents. Everything looked thorough, professional, devastating. When do I serve him? That's what we need to talk about. Normally, I'd say serve him immediately. But given your plan for Friday, I think we should wait. Wait until the party? Think about it. If we serve him now, he'll lawyer up, he'll start hiding assets, he'll possibly get violent. But if we wait until Friday, he'll be in a public place, surrounded by witnesses with no time to prepare a defense. Plus, it adds to the impact of what you're planning. Simone considered this. Part of her wanted Derek served immediately, wanted him to feel the same shock she'd felt when he demanded her money. But Jerome was right. The timing mattered. The setting mattered. Everything about Friday needed to be perfect. Okay, we wait until Friday. But I want these papers with me. I want to be the one who hands them to him. We can do that. Jerome pulled out another document. This is something else you need to sign. A restraining order application. If Derek gets volatile when he realizes what's happening, you'll need protection. You think he'll get violent? I think men who feel entitled to their wives' money often react badly when that entitlement is challenged. We need to prepare for the worst. Jerome's expression was serious. Simone, this is important. Once you serve those papers, once Derek realizes you're not giving him the money, he might become dangerous. Do you have somewhere safe to stay? The house is mine. Why should I leave? You shouldn't have to. But sometimes being right doesn't keep you safe. Jerome leaned forward. I'm not trying to scare you, but I've been practicing family law for 8 years. I've seen how these situations can escalate. Promise me you'll be careful. Simone thought about Derek's face when he demanded her money, the casual cruelty in his voice when he talked about Amber moving into Simone's house. I'll be careful. But I'm not leaving my home. Then consider changing the locks. Today. He'll notice. Let him. You have every legal right to secure your property. If he complains, it's just more evidence that he sees your house as his. Simone nodded slowly. I'll call a locksmith this afternoon. They spent the next hour going over details. Jerome had prepared a comprehensive case, documenting every aspect of Derek's financial neglect, Amber's illegal actions, and the evidence of their plot to steal Simone's money. It was thorough, devastating, and absolutely airtight. One more thing. Jerome pulled out his phone. I contacted the Pearl and spoke with Nicole. She's on board with everything and she's been incredibly helpful. She provided copies of all the party contracts Derek signed, including the one where he promised full payment by Friday night. How much is the party costing? $47,000. Simone felt her jaw drop. He was going to spend $47,000 on her birthday party? Using my money? Premium catering for 100 guests, top-shelf open bar, live band, custom decorations, the works. He told Nicole money was no object because his wife was supporting his girlfriend's celebration. Jerome's voice dripped with disgust. Nicole said she almost canceled the whole thing right then, but I asked her to keep it in place. We need Derek to show up on Friday thinking everything is going according to plan. He won't have the money to pay. No, he won't. Which means when the party ends and the bill comes due, Derek is going to have a very serious problem. The Pearl requires full payment before guests leave. Nicole will make sure of that. Simone sat back, pieces clicking into place. So he'll be served with divorce papers, exposed in front of everyone, and then stuck with a $47,000 bill he can't pay. And that's when Nicole calls the police for fraud. Jerome smiled. See, Derek signed a contract promising payment. If he can't pay, that's a civil matter at minimum, potentially criminal fraud given that he never had any intention or ability to pay. He was planning to use stolen money. Amber works at the bank. She'll pay it. No, she won't. Because by Friday afternoon, Amber won't have a job. Jerome showed her an email. The bank's investigation into her access of your account is moving fast. My contact there says they're planning to terminate her employment on Friday morning. She'll be escorted out by security, her credentials revoked, and possibly facing criminal charges. Simone stared at the email. Everything was coming together like a perfect storm. Derek and Amber had planned to celebrate her birthday with Simone's money, publicly humiliating her while flaunting their affair. But instead, they would be the ones humiliated, exposed, and facing serious consequences. I need to see this through, Simone said. I need to be there when it all happens. You will be. Nicole's saving you the best seat in the house. Jerome packed up his papers. In the meantime, keep acting normal. Let Derek think everything is going according to plan. The more confident he is, the harder he'll fall. Simone went home and called a locksmith. By 3 o'clock, her house had new locks. She texted Derek a photo of the new keys. Change the locks for security. Lots of break-ins in the neighborhood lately. I'll leave your key under the mat when you come back. Derek's response came immediately. Why didn't you ask me first? You weren't here. It needed to be done. Whatever. Just have my key ready. And the money better be ready too. Simone didn't respond. She went to her bedroom and opened her closet, looking for the perfect outfit for Friday. She settled on a deep blue dress she'd bought years ago but never worn, too afraid it was too nice, too attention-getting. Derek had always preferred she dress conservatively, blend in, not draw eyes. Well, Derek's preferences didn't matter anymore. Thursday passed in a blur of preparation. Simone withdrew $500 in cash, the only money she'd left in her old account. She visited her new bank and confirmed all her funds were secure and inaccessible to Derek. She met with Nicole at the Pearl and went over the final details of Friday's plan. She practiced what she would say, how she would stand, how she would look Derek in the eye when his world fell apart. And through it all she kept up the act with Derek. She responded to his texts with calm agreement. She assured him the money would be ready. She even wished Amber a happy early birthday when Derek put her on the phone. "I hear you're really doing something special for Derek," Amber said, her voice sweet and poisonous. "That's so generous of you." "Oh, it's going to be unforgettable," Simone replied. "I promise you'll remember this birthday for the rest of your life." Derek said, "You're being really cool about everything. Most wives would be difficult." "I'm not most wives." Simone kept her voice light. "I believe in giving people exactly what they deserve." Amber laughed. "That's so mature of you. Maybe after the party we can all get together and figure out how to make this work. Derek says you're always working anyway, so it's not like him moving in with me would really change your life." "Let's see how Friday goes first," Simone said. "I have a feeling everything is going to change after your party." When the call ended, Simone sat in her quiet house, surrounded by everything she'd built. The furniture she'd saved for. The art she'd collected. The life she'd created through years of hard work and sacrifice. Derek had wanted to take it all and give it to Amber, as if Simone was just an obstacle to remove, a bank account to drain. But Simone wasn't an obstacle. She was the storm they never saw coming. Friday morning, Simone woke before dawn. She went to the hospital and worked a half shift, keeping her hands busy and her mind focused. Her supervisor noticed something different about her. "You seem lighter today," she said. "Everything okay?" "Everything's about to be perfect," Simone replied. At noon she went home and started getting ready. She took her time with her hair and makeup, not rushing, not worrying. She put on the blue dress and looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back was someone she barely recognized, someone who looked powerful and determined and absolutely done with being treated as less than she was worth. Her phone buzzed with texts from Derek. "Where's the money?" "Simone, answer me. The party starts at 7. You better have that money. I'm serious. If you mess this up, there will be consequences." Simone smiled and typed out one final message. "Don't worry, Derek. I'll be there. And I'm bringing everything you asked for." She attached a photo of herself in the blue dress, looking confident and beautiful. Derek's response: "Why are you dressed like that? You're not invited to the party." "I know," Simone wrote back. "But I'm coming anyway. See you at 7. She turned off her phone and finished getting ready. In her purse she packed the divorce papers, the restraining order application, and a folder full of evidence. She also packed something else, something she'd had printed that morning at a professional shop. It was a photo. Derek and Amber together, enlarged and printed on high-quality paper. They were laughing in the picture, clearly happy, clearly together. And across the bottom, in bold letters, were the words from their email. The wife finally agreed. She's too soft to say no. Simone planned to make sure every single person at that party saw it. At 6:30 she drove to the Pearl. Nicole met her at a side entrance. "You look amazing," Nicole said. "Are you ready?" "I've been ready since Tuesday," Simone replied. "Let's do this." Nicole led her through the back hallways to a private area where she could wait. Through the walls, Simone could hear music starting, people arriving, the sounds of a party beginning. "Derek and Amber are already here," Nicole said. "They arrived an hour ago to make sure everything was perfect. Derek keeps asking staff if someone dropped off an envelope of money. He's getting nervous." "Good." Simone checked her appearance one final time. "Let him be nervous. Let him start to wonder. By the time I walk in there, I want him absolutely terrified." "Oh, he will be." Nicole's smile was fierce. "Trust me, after tonight, Derek and Amber are going to wish they'd never heard your name." At exactly 7 o'clock, with the party in full swing, Simone took a deep breath and walked toward the main dining room. Through the doors, she could see the celebration Derek had planned with her money, the life he tried to build on her sacrifice. But he'd made one crucial mistake. He'd underestimated the woman who'd survived 12-hour shifts, who'd worked her way through nursing school, who'd built a life from nothing. And now that woman was about to show him exactly what that mistake would cost. Simone pushed open the doors and walked into the party, her head high, her purpose clear, and her revenge perfectly planned. The look on Derek's face was worth every moment of preparation. The dining room at the Pearl was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers cast elegant light over tables draped in white linens, each centerpiece a tower of roses that must have cost a fortune. A live band played on a small stage and a premium bar stretched along one wall, offering top-shelf everything. Guests in expensive clothes mingled, laughing and celebrating, completely unaware that the party they were attending was about to implode. And in the center of it all stood Derek, handsome in a new suit Simone had never seen before, his arm around a woman who could only be Amber. She was beautiful, Simone admitted, wearing a stunning red dress that probably cost more than Simone's monthly mortgage payment. They looked happy together, like the perfect couple celebrating a milestone birthday. Except they'd planned to pay for all of it with money stolen from Derek's wife. When Derek saw Simone walk through the door, his face went completely white. He actually stumbled backward, nearly knocking over a waiter carrying champagne. Amber turned to see what had startled him, and her expression shifted from confusion to anger when she saw Simone. Simone walked across the room with deliberate slowness, letting every person in the vicinity notice her. Conversation stopped. The band continued playing, but people stopped dancing to watch. Nicole appeared at Simone's side, playing her role perfectly. "Welcome to the Pearl," Nicole said loudly, professionally. "Are you here for the Harris celebration?" "I am," Simone replied. "I'm Mrs. Harris." The words landed like bombs. Around them, people started whispering. Derek pushed through the crowd toward Simone, his face twisted with fury. "What are you doing here?" he hissed, grabbing her arm. "You're not supposed to be here." Simone looked at his hand on her arm, then at his face. "You asked me to bring you money. I'm here to deliver it. Not like this. Not dressed like that. Not in front of everyone." Derek's grip tightened. "Come outside. Now. Actually, I think I'll stay." Simone pulled her arm away. "It's a beautiful party. You've done an amazing job. The decorations, the band, the catering. This must have cost a fortune." Amber had made her way over, her face a mask of false sweetness. "Derek, who is this?" "You know exactly who I am," Simone said calmly. "We spoke on the phone yesterday, remember? You told me how mature I was being about everything." The color drained from Amber's face. Around them, more people had stopped their conversations to watch the scene unfolding. The band finished their song and didn't start another one, leaving the room in near silence. "This is my wife," Derek said through clenched teeth. "She was just leaving." "Your wife?" An older woman in an elegant gown stepped forward, her face confused. "Derek, you told us you were single. You said this was your girlfriend's birthday party." "It is my girlfriend's birthday party." Derek looked trapped, his eyes darting between Simone, Amber, and the growing crowd. "Simone and I are separated. She's just here to drop something off." "We're not separated," Simone said clearly. "We live together. In the house I own. The house I bought before we got married with money I earned working as a nurse. You need to leave." Amber's voice was sharp now, the sweetness gone. "This is my party and you're not welcome. Your party that my husband asked me to fund with my savings." Simone opened her purse and pulled out her phone. "Should I show everyone the text messages where he demanded $50,000 from me? Or maybe the emails where you two discussed stealing from my account?" Derek lunged forward, trying to grab Simone's phone, but she stepped back smoothly. Nicole moved between them, her restaurant manager authority in full effect. "Sir, I need you to step back," Nicole said firmly. "We don't allow physical confrontations in our establishment. This is my party." Derek's voice was rising. "She's causing trouble. Actually, this is the Pearl's dining room, and I'm the general manager." Nicole's smile was professional but cold. "And I believe this lady has something she needs to discuss with you." Simone pulled out her phone and projected the screenshots onto her screen, large enough for nearby guests to see. "These are emails between Derek and Amber, discussing how to access my bank account. Planning how to spend my money. Talking about me like I was just an obstacle to work around." A man in his 50s pushed through the crowd. "Amber? What is she talking about?" Amber's face had gone from angry to panicked. "Dad, this is a misunderstanding. She's jealous and making things up." "I work at County General Hospital," Simone said, addressing Amber's father. "I've been a nurse for 12 years. I saved $53,000 working overnight shifts and extra holidays. Derek demanded I withdraw it to pay for this party. When I refused, he told me he'd take it himself because he had my account information. That's not true, Derek said, but his voice lacked conviction. She's lying. Am I? Simone pulled out printed copies of the emails and handed them to Amber's father. These are from Derek and Amber's shared cloud storage. Read them yourself. Amber's father started reading, his face darkening with each line. Other guests crowded around to see. Simone watched as the words spread through the room like poison, each person reading and then passing the papers to others. The wife finally agreed to work holiday shifts, so that's extra money. Amber's father grabbed her arm. We're leaving. Now. Dad, wait. No. I don't know what you've done, but we're getting you a lawyer. A real one. He looked at Simone with something like apology in his eyes. I'm sorry for what my daughter has done. This is inexcusable. He dragged Amber toward the exit. She looked back at Derek, expecting him to follow, but he was surrounded by her family members, all demanding explanations. You told us you were single, Amber's mother said. You came to family dinners. You talked about your future together. I am single. Practically. Simone and I haven't been a real couple in years. We had dinner together 3 nights ago, Simone said. We share a home. A home I own, by the way. You never told me you weren't interested in being married anymore. You just decided to steal my money and move your girlfriend in. Nicole's phone rang. She answered it, listened, and then smiled. Derek, there's someone here who needs to speak with you. 2 police officers walked into the dining room. Behind them, a man in a suit carrying a briefcase. Derek Harris? One officer asked. What? Derek looked panicked now. What's going on? We have some questions about unauthorized access to bank accounts and potential fraud. The officer pulled out handcuffs. We need you to come with us. Wait, what? This is insane. Derek backed away. I didn't do anything illegal. You accessed your wife's bank account without authorization, the man in the suit said. I'm from First National's legal department. We take violations of customer privacy very seriously. And your girlfriend, Amber Pierce, has been terminated for her role in providing you that access. She's facing criminal charges. You can't arrest me. I'm married to her. I have a right. You have no right to accounts established before marriage without explicit permission, the lawyer said. We've reviewed the access logs. You logged in 47 times over the past 2 months. That's a clear violation. Simone, tell them, Derek pleaded. Tell them we're married and I was allowed to access the account. Simone looked at him, this man she'd loved, this man who tried to destroy her. You were never allowed to access my account. You stole my information and violated my privacy. I want you prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The officers moved forward to handcuff Derek. He started to resist, then seemed to realize how many people were watching, how many phones were recording. He let them cuff him without further fight. This isn't over, he said to Simone as they led him away. You can't just divorce me and walk away. Actually, I can, Simone replied. The house is mine. The savings are mine. You've contributed nothing to our marriage for over a year. My lawyer assures me this will be very straightforward. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. They led Derek out. The remaining guests stood in shocked silence, the ruined party forgotten. Nicole appeared at Simone's side. There's also the matter of the bill for tonight's event. Bill? One of Amber's relatives spoke up. What about it? Derek signed a contract promising full payment at the end of the evening. $47,000 for catering, bar service, band, decorations and venue rental. Payment is due before any guests can leave. $47,000? The relative looked horrified. Who's paying that? Derek signed the contract. So Derek is responsible. Nicole showed them the paperwork. We require full payment or we call the police for fraud. He's already been arrested, someone pointed out. Then we'll add fraud charges to his list. Nicole's smile was professional but merciless. Either the bill is paid tonight, or everyone involved in planning this party will be held responsible. Amber's family erupted in chaos, everyone talking at once, no one willing to pay for a party that had turned into a disaster. Simone watched for a moment, then turned to leave. Nicole walked her out through the side entrance. That was the most satisfying thing I've ever witnessed in this business. Thank you for your help. Simone hugged her. I couldn't have done this without you. You could have. But I'm glad I got to be part of it. Nicole handed her a business card. Call me if you need anything else. Anything at all. Simone drove home in a daze, the adrenaline starting to wear off. Her phone was exploding with texts and calls, but she ignored them all. She walked into her house, locked the new locks behind her, and finally, allowed herself to cry. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, of rage finally expressed, of justice served. She'd done it. She'd fought back. She'd won. And this was only the beginning. The 3 days between serving Derek and the Friday party had been the longest of Simone's life. She'd gone through the motions at work, smiled when people asked if she was okay, and slept in her house alone for the first time in 8 years. The silence was initially unsettling, then liberating. No one to answer to. No one making demands. Just Simone and the life she'd built. But tonight was different. Tonight, Derek and Amber would face the full consequences of their actions in front of everyone they'd invited to celebrate. Simone arrived at the Pearl at 6:30, using the side entrance Nicole had designated for her. The restaurant manager met her immediately, practically vibrating with excitement. "Everything is ready," Nicole said, leading her through back hallways. "Derek arrived an hour ago with Amber. They've been checking and rechecking everything, making sure the party is perfect. Derek keeps asking if anyone dropped off a payment envelope." "How does he seem?" "Nervous. He's trying to hide it, but he keeps checking his phone, looking at the entrance. I think part of him knows something is wrong, but he's too committed to back out now." They reached a small private room that overlooked the main dining area through a two-way mirror. Simone could see everything happening below while remaining invisible. The party space looked even more elaborate than she'd imagined. Amber had clearly spared no expense, Simone's expense, on her 30th birthday celebration. White roses everywhere, hundreds of them, probably costing thousands. A chocolate fountain surrounded by fresh strawberries and premium desserts. The bar was stocked with top-shelf liquor, craft cocktails with custom names like Amber's Golden Hour and 30 and Thriving. A professional DJ was setting up equipment on the stage where the band would perform later. And in the center of it all, Amber held court in her red designer dress, greeting early arrivals, accepting gifts and compliments. She looked radiant, confident, like a woman who'd gotten everything she wanted. Derek stood beside her in his expensive new suit, playing the role of devoted boyfriend. But Simone could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes kept darting to the entrance, waiting for Simone to arrive with the money he demanded. "There are about 90 people invited," Nicole said, checking her tablet. "Family, friends, co-workers from the bank. Amber's parents are here, her siblings, cousins. Derek invited some people too. His family, some old friends." "His family is here?" Simone's stomach tightened. She'd always gotten along with Derek's mother and sister. They'd been kind to her, welcoming. The idea of embarrassing them hurt. "They arrived 30 minutes ago. Derek's mom keeps asking about you, actually. She seems confused about why you're not here." Simone watched through the mirror as Derek's mother, Patricia, approached him. She could see the conversation even without hearing it. Patricia was asking questions, Derek was deflecting, getting agitated. His mother put her hand on his arm, concerned. "I should stop this," Simone said quietly. "His family doesn't deserve to be humiliated. They deserve to know the truth about Derek," Nicole countered. "Would you want your son treating his wife this way?" Simone watched as Derek's mother tried to hug him, and he pulled away, distracted by another glance toward the entrance. No, Patricia wouldn't want her son stealing from his wife. She'd be horrified when she learned the truth. "Can you do me a favor?" Simone asked Nicole. "Before I make my entrance, can you pull Derek's mother aside? Tell her there's a private phone call for her or something. I don't want her in the room when this starts." "You're kinder than I would be," Nicole said, but she nodded. "I'll take care of it." As 7 o'clock approached, the room filled with guests. Simone recognized Amber's family from photos Derek had shown her when he'd claimed he was going to work events. The ones where he'd really been integrating himself into his mistress's life, making plans for a future using Simone's money. Amber's father, Richard, looked distinguished in an expensive suit, the kind of man used to being in control. Her mother, Catherine, wore designer everything and an expression of indulgent affection as she watched her daughter. They clearly doted on Amber, clearly approved of Derek, clearly had no idea their daughter's boyfriend was married. "Derek told them he was single," Nicole said, following Simone's gaze. "He's been coming to family dinners for 6 months. They think he's a successful businessman. What does he actually do now?" Simone realized she didn't even know what Derek had been doing since quitting his last job. According to what he told the family, he's a consultant. Independent contractor. Very flexible schedule. Nicole's tone was dry. According to what I've observed? He lives off you and his girlfriend. At 7 o'clock, the DJ started playing music. Waiters circulated with champagne and appetizers. The party had officially begun. Amber stood near the entrance, greeting each arrival with hugs and squeals of delight. She looked genuinely happy, completely unaware that her birthday party was about to become the worst night of her life. Derek checked his phone for the 100th time. Simone's phone, sitting on the table in front of her, lit up with his messages. Where are you? Simone, you said you'd bring the money? The party is starting. Answer me right now. If you don't show up, I swear to God. Simone didn't respond. Let him panic. Let him wonder. Let him start to realize that maybe, just maybe, he'd miscalculated badly. Nicole's voice came through a small earpiece she'd given Simone. We're ready when you are. I've got Patricia in my office with coffee, telling her there's a surprise call from her sister in Florida. She's safely out of the main room. Thank you. Simone stood and smoothed her blue dress. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was calm. 12 years of emergency nursing had taught her how to function in high-pressure situations. This was just another crisis to manage, except this time the patient who needed saving was herself. Jerome is here too, Nicole added. He's waiting by the front entrance with the police officers and the bank representative. They'll come in on your signal. Which is? When you're ready for them, just say Derek's full name 3 times. I'll be listening, and that will trigger everyone to move. Simone took one last look in the mirror. The woman staring back looked powerful, determined, nothing like the exhausted nurse who'd come home to find her husband demanding her life savings. This woman looked ready for war. Let's do this. She walked through the back hallways, her heels clicking on the polished floor. As she approached the main entrance to the dining room, she could hear music, laughter, the sounds of people having a good time. None of them knew what was about to happen. Simone paused at the door, her hand on the handle. This was it. The moment everything changed. Once she walked through that door, there was no going back. Derek would be exposed. Amber would be humiliated. Simone's life as Derek's wife would effectively end. She'd never been more certain of anything in her life. Simone pushed open the door and walked into the party, her head high, her expression calm. The first person to notice her was a waiter, who did a double take at her dress. Then another guest saw her, then another. Conversations began to falter as people turned to look at this unexpected arrival. And then Derek saw her. His face went through several emotions in rapid succession: confusion, recognition, fear, anger. He started toward her, weaving between tables, his expression desperate. Amber noticed his reaction and followed his gaze, her smile freezing when she saw Simone. What are you doing here? Derek hissed when he reached her. His hand clamped on her arm, hard enough to hurt. You're not supposed to be here. Simone looked at his hand, then at his face. You asked me to bring you something. I'm here to deliver it. Not like this. Not in front of everyone. His grip tightened. Where's the money? Let go of my arm, Derek. Where is my money? It's not your money. Simone pulled away from him, leaving him clutching at air. It was never your money. It's my money earned by my work, saved in my account. You have no right to it. Amber had reached them now, her face a mask of false sweetness for the benefit of watching guests. I'm sorry, but this is a private event. You'll need to leave. A private event funded with money you and Derek tried to steal from me. Simone's voice was clear, carrying in the suddenly quiet room. Should I explain to everyone here exactly how you two planned this party? You're crazy, Amber said, but her eyes had gone wide with panic. Derek, call security. We are security. Nicole appeared from nowhere, professional and authoritative. I'm the general manager, and this lady is an invited guest. I didn't invite her, Amber snapped. But Derek did. He asked her specifically to come tonight and bring something. Isn't that right, Derek? Derek looked trapped, his eyes darting around the room at all the witnesses. Simone, please. Not here. Why not here? Simone opened her purse. You chose this venue. You planned this party. You invited all these people. It seems like the perfect place to me. She pulled out her phone and the printed emails, holding them up for nearby guests to see. These are communications between Derek and Amber, discussing how to access my bank account, planning how to spend my savings, referring to me as the wife, who was too soft to say no. A man in his 50s pushed through the crowd. Richard Pierce, Amber's father. What is this about? Mr. Pierce, I'm Simone Harris, Derek's wife. The words dropped like a bomb. Around them, people gasped. Amber's face went white. Wife. Richard looked between Derek and Amber. Derek, you told us you were single. This is insane, Derek said desperately. She's my ex-wife. We've been divorced for years. We're still married, Simone said calmly. We live together in the house I own. Or we did until 3 days ago when I served Derek with divorce papers and changed all my locks. She handed the papers to Richard Pierce. These are emails from your daughter and Derek, planning how to steal $50,000 from my savings account to pay for this party. Amber, who works at my bank, gave Derek my account access information illegally. Richard began reading, his face darkening with each line. Other guests crowded around to see. The whispers started, spreading through the room like wildfire. This can't be real, Amber said, but her voice shook. She's making this up because she's jealous. Am I? Simone pulled out the enlarged photo, the one showing Derek and Amber together with their damning quote. Then explain this. Nicole took the photo and held it high enough for everyone to see. The effect was instantaneous. Gasps, murmurs, people pulling out phones to take pictures. You used me, Simone said, addressing the room now. Both of you. You plotted to steal my money, planned this elaborate party, and assumed I was too weak to fight back. But here's what you didn't know. I'm not weak. I'm a nurse. I save lives. I work 12-hour shifts and deal with emergencies and function under pressure. You thought I'd just hand over my savings? You were wrong. Derek lunged for her phone, trying to grab it, but Nicole stepped between them. Sir, I need you to step back. This is my party. Derek's voice cracked. She's ruining everything. No, Simone corrected him. You ruined everything when you decided to betray your wife and steal her money. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. At that moment, the doors opened and Jerome walked in with 2 police officers and a man in a suit. Nicole must have signaled them when Derek grabbed Simone's arm. Derek Harris? One officer said. Derek's face went completely white. What? No. This is a mistake. We have some questions about unauthorized access to bank accounts. The officer pulled out handcuffs. We need you to come with us. The party descended into chaos. Amber's family surrounded her, demanding explanations. Derek's friends backed away from him. Guests pulled out phones, recording everything. And in the middle of it all, Simone stood calm and centered, watching the man who tried to destroy her face the consequences of his actions. This was what justice looked like. And it was only the beginning. Thursday afternoon, the day before the party, Simone sat in Jerome's office reviewing documents. Outside the window, the city moved through its usual rhythm, people going about their lives, unaware that Simone's entire world was about to shift. These are the final divorce papers, Jerome said, spreading several documents across his desk. Once Derek signs these, the process begins. Given his lack of financial contribution and your sole ownership of major assets, this should be straightforward. He won't sign willingly. Simone studied the papers, her nursing training making her detail-oriented even in crisis. He'll want to fight. That's why we're not going to ask him to sign as divorce papers. Jerome pulled out another set of documents that looked nearly identical. These are labeled financial disclosure forms and property access authorization. To someone not reading carefully, they look like standard paperwork for accessing your savings account. Simone looked at him sharply. You want to trick him into signing? I want to use his own arrogance against him. Jerome leaned back in his chair. Derek thinks you're compliant, right? He thinks you're going to hand over the money. So we give him paperwork that looks like it's facilitating that transaction. He'll be so focused on getting access to your account, he won't read the fine print. That seems unethical. It's completely legal. We're not forging his signature. We're presenting him with accurate documents and giving him the opportunity to read them. If he chooses not to read carefully before signing, that's on him. Jerome's expression was serious. Simone, Derek has been financially abusing you. He accessed your accounts illegally. He demanded your money. This is about protecting you. Simone thought about Derek sitting at their kitchen table with her bank statements, the casual cruelty in his voice when he talked about funding Amber's party. What exactly will he be signing? Divorce papers initiating proceedings. A financial disclosure showing he's contributed nothing to the household for over a year. A property acknowledgement confirming the house is your sole separate property. And a restraining order application that won't be filed unless he becomes threatening. All of that. Buried in what looks like standard financial paperwork. The key is presentation. You approach him casually, tell him these forms are required by the bank for large withdrawals when spouses are involved. Make it seem routine. When? Today. This afternoon. The party is tomorrow, right? He'll be distracted, focused on final preparations. He'll sign without thinking. Simone picked up the papers, reading through them carefully. Everything Jerome said was accurate. The documents were clearly labeled at the top, even if the overall presentation was misleading. Derek would have every opportunity to read them. If he chose not to, that was his choice. I'll need witnesses, Jerome continued. The signatures have to be properly notarized. I've arranged for my paralegal and an assistant to be present, both notaries. They'll witness the signing and confirm Derek had the opportunity to review everything. What do I tell him? Keep it simple. The bank requires his signature for large withdrawals from accounts established before marriage. It's just bureaucracy. You'll have the money for him tomorrow, but the paperwork needs to be completed today. Simone left Jerome's office with the documents in a folder, her heart pounding. This felt like crossing a line, even though logically she knew she was only protecting herself. Derek had crossed lines first, many of them. He'd accessed her accounts illegally, demanded her money, plotted with his mistress to steal from her. She drove home and found Derek in the living room, surrounded by party planning materials. His phone was in his hand and he was texting rapidly, probably with Amber. Hey, Simone said casually. The bank called. They need you to sign some forms before I can make the withdrawal tomorrow. Derek barely looked up. What forms? Just standard stuff for large transactions. Since we're married and the account was established before marriage, they need both signatures. She set the folder on the coffee table. It's bureaucratic nonsense, but they won't release the money without it. Fine. Whatever. Derek reached for the folder, still texting with his other hand. Where do I sign? There are flags marking each signature line. Simone's voice was steady, but inside she was screaming. This was it. The point of no return. And there are witnesses required, so I have 2 notaries coming by in an hour. Witnesses? 4 bank forms. It's a large amount. The bank is being careful. Simone sat down across from him. After you sign, I'll be able to get the money first thing tomorrow morning. Derek finally set down his phone and pulled out the papers. For a moment, Simone's heart stopped. He was actually reading them. His eyes scanned the first page, taking in the words. Then his phone buzzed with another text. He glanced at it, smiled, and picked it up. It's from Amber, he said. The florist confirmed the roses. 200 white roses, can you believe it? This party is going to be amazing. He set his phone down and picked up a pen, flipping through the papers quickly. Too quickly to actually read them. He was looking for signature lines, not content. These all need signatures? He found the first flag. Yes. Each section. Derek signed the first document without reading it. The divorce petition. He signed the second without reading it. The financial disclosure. The third. The property acknowledgement. The fourth. The restraining order application. He was smiling the whole time, distracted by another text from Amber. There was a knock at the door. Jerome's paralegals arrived exactly on time, professional in their business suits, carrying their notary equipment. These are the witnesses? Derek asked. Notaries from my bank, Simone lied smoothly. They need to verify your signature and identity. Derek provided his driver's license. The notaries verified everything, stamping each document with official seals. They were professional, efficient, giving Derek every opportunity to ask questions or review what he was signing. He didn't. He just wanted it done so he could get back to his phone, to Amber, to planning the party that would celebrate his betrayal. All finished, one notary said, collecting the documents. These will be filed with the appropriate offices. Great, Derek said absently. So I can tell Amber the money will be ready tomorrow? You can tell Amber whatever you want, Simone said quietly. After the notaries left, Derek went back to his phone, his party planning, his life with Amber. He didn't realize he'd just signed away his marriage, acknowledged he had no claim to Simone's property, and provided all the evidence needed for a swift, decisive divorce. Simone went to her bedroom and closed the door. She sat on her bed and just breathed for a long moment. It was done. Derek had signed the papers. Tomorrow at the party, when she handed him the divorce documents in front of everyone, there would be no question, no argument, no way for him to claim he didn't know what he was signing. He'd sealed his own fate, so focused on stealing from her that he'd signed away any claim to her life. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jerome. Did he sign? Everything. Didn't read a single page. Perfect. I'll file these first thing tomorrow morning. By the time the party starts, the divorce will be officially in process. Simone set down her phone and looked around her bedroom. The house was quiet. Derek had left to help Amber with some last-minute party detail, taking Simone's car because his was acting up. He'd probably sold it, Simone realized. Sold it to fund his lifestyle with Amber, assuming Simone's money would always be there to replace whatever he wasted. She walked through the house, seeing it with new eyes. The furniture she'd saved for. The art she'd carefully selected. The kitchen where she'd cooked meals Derek barely acknowledged. The living room where she'd worked double shifts, too exhausted to even change out of her scrubs, while Derek complained about being bored. Tomorrow this would all truly be hers again. Derek would have no claim to any of it. The house, the savings, the life she'd built, all protected by the papers he'd signed without reading. Simone went to her closet and pulled out the blue dress she'd chosen for tomorrow. She held it up, imagining herself wearing it, walking into that party, watching Derek's face when he realized what she'd done. Part of her felt guilty. She'd been raised to be kind, to give people chances, to believe in redemption. But Derek had used that kindness against her. He'd mistaken mercy for weakness, patience for stupidity. Tomorrow he'd learn the difference. Simone's phone rang. It was her mother, calling from Florida. "Hi, Mama. Baby, I had the strangest dream about you last night. You were standing in the ocean and waves were coming at you, but you weren't scared. You were just standing there, strong and beautiful, letting the waves break against you but not move you." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. "That's a good dream." "It is. It made me think about how proud I am of you. Working so hard, becoming a nurse, buying your house. My strong daughter. Mama, I need to tell you something." Simone sat down on her bed. "Derek and I are getting divorced." There was a pause. "What happened?" Simone told her mother everything. The demand for money. The affair. The plan to steal her savings. The papers Derek had signed just hours ago. Through it all, her mother listened in silence. When Simone finished, her mother said simply, "Good. Good? Good that you're divorcing him. I never liked Derek, baby. I know I never said anything, but I saw how he treated you. Like you were there to serve him. Like your job was to make his life easy while he did nothing. I'm glad you're done with him. His party is tomorrow. I'm going to serve him the papers in front of everyone." Her mother laughed, a sound of pure delight. "Oh, I wish I could see his face. You record it, you hear me? I want to see the exact moment that man realizes he messed with the wrong woman." After hanging up, Simone felt lighter. Her mother's support meant everything. She wasn't wrong to do this. She wasn't being cruel. She was protecting herself, fighting back, refusing to be a victim. Derek came home late that night, after Simone had already gone to bed. She heard him moving around the house, checking his phone, probably texting Amber about final party details. He never came to the bedroom they'd once shared. He'd been sleeping in the guest room for months, another sign Simone had ignored. Tomorrow, she thought as she drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow, Derek and Amber would discover that Simone Harris wasn't the soft, compliant woman they'd thought they were manipulating. She was the storm they never saw coming. And storms, Simone had learned, don't ask permission to be powerful. They just are. Continuing from Chapter 5. The police officers approached Derek, and Simone watched his face cycle through disbelief, panic, and finally desperate calculation. Around them, the party had frozen. The DJ had stopped the music. Waiters stood with trays suspended mid-service. Every eye in the room was fixed on the unfolding scene. "Officers, there's been a misunderstanding," Derek said, attempting charm. "My wife is upset about some marital issues, but accessing her account isn't illegal. We're married. Actually, it is illegal when the account holder doesn't give you permission," the man in the suit said, stepping forward. "I'm James Rodriguez from First National Bank's legal department. We've completed our investigation into the unauthorized access of Ms. Harris's account." "Mrs. Harris," Derek corrected automatically. "She's my wife." "Ms. Harris maintains her maiden name on the account," Rodriguez continued. "And the account was established 3 years before your marriage. The access logs show 47 unauthorized entries over the past 2 months, all from IP addresses registered to you and to Amber Pierce." Amber, who'd been standing frozen in her red dress, suddenly found her voice. "That's not possible. I never—" "Miss Pierce, you're also here." Rodriguez turned to her. "We need to speak with you as well. Your employment with First National was terminated this morning for violation of customer privacy policies and banking regulations." "What?" Amber's voice came out as a shriek. "You can't fire me. We already have. Security escorted you from the building at 9 a.m. You'll be receiving official notice by mail. Rodriguez's tone was professionally cold. You used your employee access to provide customer account information to an unauthorized third party. That's a terminable offense and potentially criminal. I didn't. Derek figured out the passwords himself. Amber, shut up, Derek hissed. But Amber was panicking now, her careful facade crumbling. I barely helped. He was the one who kept asking for information. He was the one who wanted to steal from her. I said shut up. The officers moved closer. Mr. Harris, we need you to come with us for questioning. You can come voluntarily or we can make this official. This is insane. Derek looked around wildly, searching for an ally. His eyes landed on his father's friend, a lawyer named Tom who'd known Derek since childhood. Tom, tell them they can't do this. Tom, who'd been watching the scene with growing horror, shook his head. Derek, if you accessed accounts without permission, that's a crime. You need to cooperate and get your own attorney. But we're married. What's hers is mine. That's not how it works, Tom said quietly. Especially for premarital assets. You know that. Simone stepped forward and the crowd parted for her. She looked at Derek, this man she'd once loved, and felt nothing but cold determination. Derek Marcus Harris, she said clearly, using his full name 3 times as planned to signal the final phase. Derek Marcus Harris. Derek Marcus Harris. On cue, Nicole appeared with a large screen that descended from the ceiling. She pressed a button on her tablet and security footage began playing. The footage Simone had spent days gathering, edited into a devastating compilation. It started with Derek and Amber at the Pearl the previous week, discussing the wife's money and how easy it would be to take it. Then clips of Derek at the house, going through Simone's papers when he thought she wasn't home. Then footage from the bank, showing Amber accessing Simone's account on her work computer and writing down information. But the worst footage came last. It was from a restaurant security camera showing Derek and Amber at dinner 2 months ago. The audio was clear. Once we have her money, we can do whatever we want, Derek's voice said. She'll probably keep working anyway. She loves her job more than she ever loved me. What if she fights the divorce? Amber asked. She won't. Simone never fights. She just accepts whatever happens and keeps going. That's what makes this so easy. The footage cut to another dinner, more recent. After the party, we should tell her about us officially, Amber said. I'm tired of hiding. We'll tell her after we have her money secure. Once it's in our account, there's nothing she can do. We'll offer her the guest room in her own house. Derek laughed. She'll probably agree just to avoid conflict. The screen went black. The room was silent except for the sound of Amber crying. That's who you're protecting, Simone said to Derek's family and friends. That's what he thought of me. That's what they both thought. That I was too weak, too compliant, too pathetic to fight back. Derek's mother, Patricia, appeared in the doorway. Nicole must have let her out of the office when the confrontation started. Patricia's face was streaked with tears. Derek, how could you? Her voice broke. Simone has been nothing but good to you. She worked herself to exhaustion while you did nothing. And this is how you repay her. Mom, you don't understand? I understand perfectly. Patricia walked to Simone and hugged her. I'm so sorry. I should have seen this. I should have stopped him. You couldn't have known, Simone said gently. Mr. Harris, we need to go. Now. The officers were losing patience. Derek looked at the divorce papers still crumpled in his hand, then at Simone, then at the police. I want a lawyer. That's your right. You can call one from the station. The officers moved to either side of him. Are you coming voluntarily? Derek looked at Amber, expecting support, but she turned away, surrounded by her family who were demanding explanations and threatening their own legal action. Fine, Derek said. I'll come. But this isn't over, Simone. You can't just destroy my life like this. I didn't destroy your life, Simone replied. You destroyed it yourself when you decided to betray your wife, steal her money, and underestimate her completely. They led Derek out. Through the windows, Simone could see the police car, its lights dark but ominous. Derek was being placed in the back seat, and despite everything, Simone felt a moment of sadness. This had been her husband. She'd loved him once. He'd become this terrible person slowly, choice by choice, until the man she married had disappeared completely. But the sadness passed quickly, replaced by the clear certainty that she'd done the right thing. The party area had descended into chaos. Amber was screaming at her parents, insisting she'd done nothing wrong. Her family was gathering their things, preparing to leave. Derek's friends and family stood in shocked clusters, processing what they'd witnessed. Nicole appeared at Simone's side. There's still the matter of the bill. Richard Pierce turned to her, his face haggard. How much? $47,000. Your daughter and Derek Harris signed a contract guaranteeing payment tonight. $47,000? One of Amber's brothers looked sick. For a birthday party? For a birthday party funded with stolen money, Nicole corrected. The contract specifies payment before guests leave. The amount is due tonight. We're not paying for this disaster, Amber's mother said. Derek ordered all of this. Let him pay. Derek's on his way to jail, Rodriguez pointed out. And Miss Pierce was equally responsible for the planning and the contract. Amber's family erupted in arguments. No one wanted to pay. Everyone blamed someone else. In the end, Richard Pierce pulled out his credit card with shaking hands. We'll pay it, he said quietly. But Amber, you're going to repay every penny. Do you understand? Amber didn't respond. She was staring at Simone with undisguised hatred. You ruined everything, Amber said. Derek loved me. We were happy. You couldn't stand to see him move on. Derek used you, Simone replied. Just like he used me. The only difference is you helped him do it. You violated your professional ethics, broke the law, and participated in planning to steal from me. And for what? A man who was married the entire time you knew him? A man who lied to you about his financial situation? He said you were practically divorced. We weren't. We lived together. We shared a home. You chose to believe his lies because it was convenient. Simone picked up her purse. You're both responsible for what happened tonight. Both of you decided to treat me like I didn't matter. Well, I matter. And now you both know it. Simone walked toward the exit where Jerome was waiting. As she passed through the dining room, several people stopped her. I'm Derek's cousin, a woman said. I just want you to know none of us knew he was doing this. We thought you two were happy. Thank you, Simone said. You're incredibly brave, another woman added. What you did tonight, standing up for yourself like that. I hope I'd have that courage if I needed it. Patricia hugged Simone again at the door. You keep the house. You keep everything. Don't let him take anything more from you. I won't, Simone promised. Outside, the night air was cool and clear. Simone stood on the steps of the Pearl and just breathed for a moment. Behind her, the ruined party continued its implosion. Ahead of her, her car waited, ready to take her home. Jerome walked up beside her. You did it. We did it, Simone corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. Still, what you pulled off in there, that took incredible strength. Jerome smiled. Derek and Amber thought they were so clever. They never saw you coming. No one ever does, Simone said quietly. People see a nurse, a caregiver, a quiet woman who works hard and doesn't make waves. They don't see the strength it takes to do that job, to save lives, to function under pressure. They see it now. Simone's phone buzzed. It was Nicole sending her a file. Party footage. You might want this. Free of charge. The attached video showed the entire confrontation from Simone's entrance to Derek's arrest. Simone watched 30 seconds of it and then saved it to her cloud storage. Ready to go home? Jerome asked. More than ready. They walked to her car. Jerome had offered to follow her home, make sure she was safe, but Simone declined. She needed to be alone to process what had happened, to let the reality sink in. She drove through the city, past the familiar landmarks of her life. The hospital where she worked. The coffee shop where she'd studied for nursing exams. The park where she and Derek used to walk back when he was a different person. Or maybe he'd always been this person and she just refused to see it. When she pulled into her driveway, Simone sat in the car for a long moment. The house was dark. Empty. Hers. Completely, legally, undeniably hers. Derek would never walk through that door again. His things, the few items that were actually his, would be boxed up and shipped to him. But the house itself, the sanctuary Simone had created, would remain untouched by his presence. She went inside and locked the new locks behind her. She kicked off her heels, hung up her blue dress, and changed into comfortable clothes. In the bathroom mirror, she studied her reflection. She looked tired but triumphant. Worn but unbroken. Her phone rang. It was her mother. Baby, are you okay? You haven't called. I'm okay, Mama. Better than okay. Simone sat on her bed. I did it. I served Derek at the party in front of everyone. The police arrested him. Amber lost her job. Everything worked out exactly like Jerome planned. I want every detail, her mother said. Every single detail. Simone spent the next hour telling her mother everything, reliving each moment. When she finished, her mother was laughing and crying simultaneously. "That's my daughter," she said. "That's my strong, brilliant daughter. Your father would be so proud." After hanging up, Simone made herself tea and sat in her living room. The house felt different now. Lighter. Like a weight had been lifted that she hadn't fully realized she'd been carrying. She opened her laptop and checked her bank accounts. All secure. All protected. Derek hadn't managed to take a single dollar. There was an email from Jerome with the subject line, "Tomorrow's next steps." She opened it to find a detailed plan for the coming weeks. Finalizing the divorce. Pressing charges for the unauthorized account access. Ensuring Derek had no legal grounds to return to the house or claim any of her assets. It would take time, but the process had started. And Simone had no doubt about the outcome. She'd won. Not because she'd hurt Derek or Amber, though they were certainly suffering consequences of their own making. She'd won because she'd refused to be a victim. She'd seen the betrayal, felt the hurt, and then she'd transformed that pain into action. Simone went to bed in her own house, in her own room, in peace for the first time in months. As she drifted off to sleep, she thought about everything that had led to this moment. The years of hard work. The sacrifices. The overnight shifts and missed holidays, and every time she put her own needs last. All of that had built her strength. All of that had prepared her for this fight. And when the moment came, when Derek demanded she choose between her self-respect and his comfort, she'd chosen herself. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Derek would fight the divorce. There would be court dates and legal proceedings. Life would be complicated for a while. But tonight, Simone Harris slept soundly, knowing she'd done the right thing. And knowing she'd do it again in a heartbeat. Saturday morning arrived with sunshine streaming through Simone's bedroom window, a marked contrast to the storm she'd unleashed the night before. She woke slowly, momentarily disoriented, before remembering everything. The party. Derek's arrest. Amber's humiliation. The public exposure of their plot. Simone reached for her phone and found hundreds of notifications. Text messages, emails, missed calls. News of what had happened had spread through social media like wildfire. Someone, probably multiple someones, had recorded the confrontation and posted it online. She opened one video and watched herself from a stranger's perspective. The woman on the screen looked powerful and composed, nothing like how Simone had felt inside. The comments section was overwhelmingly supportive. "She's a queen for this." The way she just destroyed them both without raising her voice. Icon behavior. This is what happens when you underestimate a woman who works in healthcare. They're used to dealing with life or death situations. This was just another Tuesday for her. There were negative comments too, people calling her vindictive or saying she could have handled it privately. Simone scrolled past those without engaging. She hadn't done this for public approval. She'd done it because Derek and Amber had left her no choice. Her phone rang. "Jerome. Morning. How are you holding up?" "Better than expected." Simone got out of bed and walked to her kitchen. "There are videos everywhere." "I know. That might actually help us. The more documentation of Derek's behavior, the stronger our case." Jerome sounded satisfied. "I have news. Derek was processed last night and released on bail this morning. His mother posted it." "How much?" $10,000. She also paid for a lawyer apparently. Derek called her from the station and Patricia felt obligated to help, even though she's furious with him. That sounds like Patricia. Simone started making coffee. "What about Amber?" "The bank is pressing charges for unauthorized account access. She's looking at serious penalties, possibly jail time if they pursue it criminally. Her family has hired a lawyer too, but from what I'm hearing, they're not happy about it. She might end up owing them that $47,000 on top of her legal fees." "Do you feel guilty?" Jerome asked carefully. "About what happened to them?" Simone considered the question while her coffee brewed. Did she feel guilty? Amber had lost her job and was facing criminal charges. Derek was arrested at his mistress's birthday party in front of everyone he knew. Their reputations were destroyed. Lives upended. "No," she said finally. "I don't feel guilty. They made their choices. They could have been honest. Derek could have asked for a divorce instead of trying to steal from me. Amber could have refused to violate banking regulations. Every step of the way they chose the dishonest path. I just made sure there were consequences." "Good. You shouldn't feel guilty. They're trying to paint you as the villain, by the way. Derek's been calling family members, telling them you set him up, that you're being vindictive. Let him talk. There's video evidence of everything he and Amber said. There are bank records of the unauthorized access. There are witnesses to him demanding my money. Simone poured her coffee. The truth speaks for itself. That's exactly right. Which brings me to our next steps. We have a court date scheduled for next month for the preliminary divorce hearing. Derek's lawyer is going to argue for spousal support. Spousal support? Simone nearly choked on her coffee. He wants me to pay him? He's going to claim he's unemployed because he was supporting your career. That he gave up job opportunities to maintain the household while you worked. That's completely false. I know. And we have documentation proving it. Bank statements showing you paid for everything. Employment records showing his pattern of quitting jobs. Witness testimony from neighbors and friends about his behavior. Jerome's voice was confident. They're going to try, but they won't succeed. Still, prepare yourself for a fight. Derek isn't going to let you go easily. After hanging up, Simone spent the morning cleaning her house. She needed to do something physical, something that would ground her in the reality of her life. She boxed up Derek's remaining belongings, everything he'd left behind in his hurry to move in with Amber. His clothes, his books, a few pieces of electronics. It all fit in 4 boxes. 8 years of marriage reduced to 4 boxes. She was labeling the last box when her doorbell rang. Through the window she could see Derek's sister, Michelle, standing on the porch. Simone opened the door cautiously. Michelle. Can I come in? Michelle's eyes were red from crying. Please, Simone. I need to talk to you. They sat in the living room and Michelle immediately burst into tears. I'm so sorry. I had no idea what Derek was doing. Mom called me last night and told me everything. I can't believe my brother would do something like that to you. I'm sorry you had to find out that way, Simone said gently. Don't apologize. You have nothing to apologize for. Michelle wiped her eyes. Derek called me this morning trying to get me to talk to you. He wants you to drop the charges to settle the divorce quietly. He said you humiliated him on purpose. He humiliated himself. I know. I told him that. I told him he deserved everything that happened and worse. Michelle took a shaky breath. Simone, I always liked you. You were good for Derek, or at least you tried to be. You worked so hard and he just took advantage of that. I'm ashamed of him. You're not responsible for what he did. But I feel responsible. I saw signs, you know? I saw how he'd stopped working, how he was always on his phone, how he'd make these comments about your job like it was a burden on him. I should have said something. Would he have listened? Michelle laughed bitterly. No. Derek never listens to anyone. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else, that rules don't apply to him. She pulled out an envelope. This is from Mom. She wanted me to give it to you. Simone opened the envelope to find a check for $10,000 and a handwritten note. Simone, I know money can't fix what Derek did, but I want to help with your legal fees. You shouldn't have to pay to protect yourself from my son's mistakes. I'm sorry I didn't see what he was becoming. I'm sorry I didn't protect you like I should have. You're a remarkable woman, and you deserve so much better than what Derek gave you. Patricia. Simone's eyes filled with tears. I can't take this. Mom insisted. She feels terrible. We all do. Michelle squeezed her hand. Keep it. Use it for the divorce. Derek doesn't deserve a penny from you, but Mom wants to make sure he doesn't cost you anything either. After Michelle left, Simone sat with Patricia's note in her hands. The gesture meant more than the money itself. Patricia's validation that Simone had done nothing wrong, that she deserved better, that Derek's behavior was inexcusable. The rest of the weekend passed in a blur. More phone calls from friends, co-workers, even patients who'd somehow heard the story. Everyone was supportive, everyone was outraged on her behalf. Simone found herself telling the story over and over, each retelling making it feel more real and less like a nightmare. Monday morning she went back to work. Walking into County General felt like returning to solid ground after days at sea. The hospital was familiar, comfortable, a place where Simone knew exactly who she was and what she was supposed to do. Her supervisor, Jennifer, pulled her aside immediately. I heard about Derek. Are you okay? Do you need some time off? I'm fine. Actually, I need to work. I need normal. Simone changed into her scrubs, feeling herself settle into the role of Nurse Harris. Besides, sitting at home will just make me think about it more. If you're sure. But if you need anything at all, you let me know. The shift was busy, which helped. Simone lost herself in patient care, in the familiar rhythms of checking vitals, administering medications, responding to emergencies. During her lunch break, she checked her phone and found a text from an unknown number. You destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. It was from Amber, Simone realized. She must have gotten Simone's number from Derek's phone. You destroyed your own life when you chose to help steal from me, Simone wrote back. Don't contact me again. She blocked the number and went back to work. That evening, Jerome called with more news. Derek's lawyer filed a motion claiming you coerced Derek into signing the divorce papers. They're arguing the documents should be invalidated. That's ridiculous. There were witnesses. Notaries. I know. The motion will be denied. But it shows Derek's strategy. He's going to fight everything. He's going to make this as difficult as possible. Jerome sighed. Prepare yourself. This could take months. Let it take months. I'm not backing down. I didn't think you would. Jerome's tone warmed. You're handling this remarkably well, Simone. Most people would be falling apart by now. I'm a nurse. Falling apart isn't an option. You learn to compartmentalize, to function even when things are terrible. Simone looked around her apartment, her sanctuary. Besides, I have something to protect now. My home, my money, my dignity. Derek took enough from me. He's not taking anything more. Over the next 2 weeks, the divorce proceedings heated up. Derek's lawyer filed motion after motion, each one more desperate than the last. Claiming Simone had trapped Derek into signing papers. Claiming she'd stolen money from joint accounts, there were no joint accounts. Claiming she'd abandoned the marriage first, impossible to prove and untrue. Each motion was denied. Each claim was debunked. The evidence was too strong, too clear. Derek's own words, caught on security footage, destroyed any sympathy a judge might have had. The unauthorized access charges moved forward too. The bank had done a thorough investigation and found that Amber had accessed Simone's account 17 times, each time noting information she had no business viewing. The evidence was damning, and the district attorney decided to prosecute. Amber's family, horrified by the publicity and the legal bills, reportedly told her she was on her own. The woman who'd celebrated her elaborate birthday party in a red designer dress was now facing the possibility of jail time and certain financial ruin. Derek wasn't faring much better. Without Simone's income, without access to her savings, he was forced to move back in with his mother. Patricia, still angry about the whole situation, made him get a job at a grocery store stocking shelves. The man who'd thought himself too good for work, who demanded $50,000 for his mistress's party, was now making minimum wage under his mother's roof. Simone heard about all of this through Michelle, who kept her updated despite feeling guilty about it. Mom's not making it easy for him, Michelle reported. She charges him rent, makes him pay for his own food, gives him a curfew. She said if he wants to act like he's 16, she'll treat him like he's 16. How's he handling it? Terribly. He complains constantly. He tried to move in with his friend Jake, but Jake's wife refused after hearing what happened to you. Derek's basically out of options. Simone should have felt satisfaction at Derek's downfall, but mostly she just felt tired. She'd spent so much energy fighting him, protecting herself, that hearing about his struggles now just made her want to move on. A month after the party, Simone attended the preliminary divorce hearing. Derek showed up in an ill-fitting suit, looking haggard. He'd lost weight and there were dark circles under his eyes. Next to him, his lawyer looked professionally apologetic, clearly knowing they had no case. The judge, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense, reviewed the evidence quickly. Mr. Harris, you accessed your wife's bank account 47 times without permission? We're married. I thought I had a right. You thought wrong. Ms. Harris established that account before marriage and you never contributed to it. The law is clear on this matter. The judge looked at Derek's lawyer. Counsel, your client has no claim to these funds. Is there any legitimate reason we're wasting the court's time? Derek's lawyer cleared his throat. Your Honor, we believe Ms. Harris's public humiliation of our client deserves consideration in the settlement. Public humiliation? The judge's eyebrows rose. You mean when she exposed his plan to steal from her at a party he was funding with stolen money? That public humiliation. The way it was handled was within her rights. Mr. Harris chose a public venue for his celebration. Ms. Harris chose to confront him there. I see no legal issue. The judge stamped a paper. Divorce granted. The house remains Ms. Harris's sole property. All savings accounts remain with Ms. Harris. Mr. Harris will have 30 days to remove any remaining personal property. A restraining order will remain in effect prohibiting Mr. Harris from contacting Ms. Harris except through legal counsel. Your Honor, Derek's lawyer tried again. We'd like to request spousal support while Mr. Harris gets back on his feet. The judge actually laughed. Spousal support? For a man who was unemployed by choice, Who attempted to steal his wife's life savings? Who committed bank fraud? Absolutely not. Request denied. She banged her gavel. We're done here. Miss Harris, you're free to go. Mr. Harris, I suggest you use this as an opportunity to evaluate your life choices. Outside the courthouse, Jerome hugged Simone. It's over. You won. I won, Simone repeated, letting the words sink in. It's really over. The criminal charges against Derek and Amber are still pending, but the divorce is final. The house is yours. The money is yours. Derek has no claim to any of it. Simone stood on the courthouse steps, feeling the sun on her face. She thought about the journey that had led here. The late-night discovery of Derek's demands. The strategic planning with Jerome. The confrontation at the Pearl. The weeks of legal battles. She'd fought for herself. And she'd won. What happens now? Jerome asked. Simone smiled. Now I figure out what Simone Harris wants for her life. Without Derek. Without all this drama. Just me, my career, my house, and whatever comes next. Any ideas? A few. Simone's smile widened. I think it's time I started living for myself instead of just surviving. And with that, she walked down the courthouse steps toward her car, toward her life, toward a future that was finally, completely, beautifully hers. 6 months later, Simone barely recognized her life. The woman who'd confronted her husband at his mistress's birthday party felt like a different person, someone she'd been forced to become in crisis. But as the months passed and the legal battles faded, Simone discovered something surprising. She liked who she'd become. Miss Harris, your 3 o'clock is here. The receptionist's voice came through the intercom in Simone's new office. Her office. Simone still marveled at that fact. 3 months ago, she'd been promoted to head nurse of the emergency department at County General, a position she'd been working toward for years but never thought she'd achieve so young. Her supervisor, Jennifer, had pulled her aside with the news. You've shown incredible leadership and composure under pressure, Jennifer had said. Not just at work but in your personal life. The way you handled your divorce, the strength you showed, that's the kind of person we need leading our team. The promotion came with a substantial raise, enough that Simone had started considering possibilities she'd never allowed herself before. Which led to her side office downtown, the one she rented 2 afternoons a week for her newest project. Send them in, Simone said, straightening the papers on her desk. A woman in her early 30s entered, her face tight with stress. Miss Harris? I'm Brianna. I saw your workshop advertised at the Women's Center. Please call me Simone. She gestured to the comfortable chair across from her desk. Tell me what brought you here. My husband controls all our money. I have a job, but he makes me deposit every paycheck into his account. He says it's because he's better at managing finances, but I never know how much we have or where it goes. Brianna twisted her hands in her lap. I read about what you went through. How you protected yourself. I need to know how to do that. Simone pulled out a folder she'd prepared. First, understand that financial abuse is real abuse. What your husband is doing, isolating you from your own money, that's a control tactic. Let's talk about your options. Over the next hour, Simone walked Brianna through steps to establish financial independence. Opening a separate account. Understanding her legal rights. Documenting household expenses. Building an emergency fund. The same steps Simone had learned the hard way. This is what I needed, Brianna said when they finished. I felt so stupid, so helpless. But talking to you, hearing how you got out, it makes me think I can do this too. You can, Simone assured her. It won't be easy, but neither was working all those extra shifts, saving your money, building your career. You're already strong. You just need to remember that. After Brianna left, Simone updated her notes. 15 women so far, all struggling with financial abuse or control. All needing guidance, support, and practical advice on protecting themselves. Simone had started the workshops on a whim, thinking maybe 1 or 2 women might show up. Instead, she'd been flooded with requests. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jerome, dinner tonight? 7 p.m. at Lucia's? Simone smiled. Perfect. See you there. Jerome had become more than her lawyer over the past 6 months. They'd started having coffee after court appearances, then lunch when Simone needed to decompress, then actual dates when they both realized their relationship had shifted into something deeper. Is this too soon? Simone had asked after their first real date. I just got divorced. Maybe I should be single for a while. There's no timeline for moving on, Jerome had replied. You do what feels right. If that's dating me, great. If that's being alone, I understand. But Simone, you've been emotionally divorced from Derek for years. You just finally made it official." He was right. The relief Simone felt being with Jerome, the ease of it, told her everything she needed to know. This was what a healthy relationship felt like. Someone who respected her time, who celebrated her successes, who never once asked her for money or made her feel small. That evening, Simone closed her office and drove to her new apartment downtown. She'd sold the house 2 months ago, realizing she didn't want to live in a space that reminded her of Derek. The sale had been quick and profitable, leaving Simone with enough money to buy a small condo with a view of the city and still have her savings intact. The apartment was smaller than the house, but it was perfectly hers. Modern furniture she'd chosen herself. Art from local galleries. A color scheme Derek never would have approved of because it was too bold. Every inch of the space reflected Simone's taste, her personality, her freedom. She changed into a blue dress, different from the one she'd worn to the party but similar in how it made her feel. Confident, beautiful, powerful. As she did her makeup, she thought about how much had changed since that night at the Pearl. Derek's criminal trial for the unauthorized account access had resulted in a conviction. He'd been sentenced to 2 years probation, community service, and mandatory financial counseling. He was also required to repay the bank's investigation costs. Between legal fees, restitution, and his continued inability to hold a steady job, Derek was financially devastated. Amber had faced similar consequences. She'd pleaded guilty to avoid jail time but lost her banking license permanently. She'd had to move back in with her parents and was working retail to pay off her legal debts. The woman who'd celebrated her 30th birthday in a designer dress now spent her days folding clothes at a department store. Simone occasionally felt guilty about their situations, but then she'd remember the emails where they'd laughed about stealing from her, and the guilt would fade. They'd made their choices. At Lucia's, Jerome was already waiting at a table by the window. He stood when he saw Simone, and his smile made her heart do a small flip. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek. "You're biased." "Absolutely. But also correct." He pulled out her chair. "How was your afternoon?" "Good." Another workshop session. A woman dealing with a controlling husband who monitors all her spending. Simone settled into her seat. "She reminds me of who I was a year ago. Before Derek's demand. I was already being controlled, I just didn't see it. And now you're helping other women see it before it's too late." Jerome reached across the table to take her hand. "I'm proud of you, you know. What you're building with these workshops, it's important work. I just wish I'd known this information when I needed it. I had to figure everything out in crisis mode. These women deserve better." They ordered dinner and talked about their days. Jerome was handling a complex custody case. Simone was dealing with hospital politics around scheduling. Normal things. Healthy things. A relationship built on mutual respect rather than one person's needs dominating everything. "I have something to tell you," Jerome said over dessert. "I got offered a partnership at my firm." "Jerome, that's amazing." Simone reached across the table to squeeze his hand. "Congratulations. It means longer hours for a while. More responsibility. I wanted to make sure you're okay with that." "Why wouldn't I be?" "Because I don't want you to feel neglected. I don't want to be the guy who puts his career above his relationship." Simone smiled. "Jerome, I'm a head nurse. I work 12-hour shifts and run financial workshops on my days off. If anyone understands career dedication, it's me. We'll figure it out." "That's why this works," Jerome said softly. "We're both ambitious. We both have goals. We support each other instead of competing." After dinner, they walked along the waterfront. The city lights reflected on the water, and couples strolled past, enjoying the warm evening. Simone felt content in a way she hadn't in years. "Can I ask you something?" Jerome said. "Do you ever regret how you handled things with Derek? The public confrontation, I mean." Simone considered the question. "No. I know some people think I should have been more private, more discreet. But Derek counted on me being quiet. He counted on me being too ashamed or scared to make a scene. If I'd confronted him privately, he would have talked his way out of it, convinced me to wait, manipulated me into giving him more chances. The public exposure was necessary." "No regrets at all?" "One." Simone looked out at the water. "I regret not leaving sooner. I saw signs for months. The way Derek stopped contributing. How he was always on his phone. The excuses about where he was going. I ignored all of it because I wanted to believe in my marriage. If I'd been honest with myself earlier, I could have saved myself a lot of pain. You can't blame yourself for wanting to make your marriage work." "I don't blame myself. But I've learned from it. I'll never ignore red flags again. I'll never make myself small to accommodate someone else's ego. I'll never let anyone make me feel like my work, my money, my life is less important than their comfort. Jerome pulled her close. Derek really had no idea what he had, did he? No. But someone else does. Simone smiled up at him. Someone who shows up, who respects my time, who celebrates my success instead of resenting it. Someone who's falling in love with you, Jerome said quietly. Simone's breath caught. They'd been dating for 4 months, but neither had said those words yet. Jerome. You don't have to say it back. I just wanted you to know. He kissed her forehead. No pressure. No expectations. Just the truth. I think I'm falling in love with you too, Simone admitted. It scares me a little. After Derek, I wasn't sure I'd ever trust anyone again. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. They walked back to Simone's car, holding hands, comfortable in the silence. Before getting in, Simone checked her phone and found a message from Michelle. Derek asked me to reach out to you. He wants to talk. Simone showed the text to Jerome. What do you think? Do you want to talk to him? Not even a little bit. Simone typed a response. Tell Derek we have nothing to discuss. If he needs something he can go through his lawyer. Please don't pass along any more messages from him. Are you sure? Michelle wrote back. He says he wants to apologize. An apology 6 months too late isn't an apology. It's a manipulation tactic. I've moved on and Derek needs to do the same. Simone blocked Derek's attempts to contact her through family members for weeks now. Patricia respected her boundaries and never passed along messages. Michelle usually did too, but occasionally she'd slip up, feeling guilty about her brother's situation. You don't owe him anything, Jerome reminded her. Not your time, not your forgiveness, nothing. I know. Simone put her phone away. I wasted 8 years on Derek. I'm not giving him one more minute. That night, alone in her apartment, Simone sat at her desk and reviewed her finances. The promotion had increased her income significantly. The financial workshops were generating modest additional income. Her savings, untouched by Derek, continued to grow. She was in the strongest financial position of her life. But more than that, she was happy. Genuinely happy. She had work she loved, a relationship that fulfilled her, friends who supported her, and a future that was entirely her own to shape. Her laptop dinged with an email notification. It was from the Women's Center where she ran workshops. Simone, we've had overwhelming interest in your financial protection workshops. Would you be willing to expand to twice-weekly sessions? We've also had inquiries from other women's centers in the state about bringing your program to them. Please let us know your availability for a meeting to discuss expansion. Simone read the email twice. Expansion meant more women helped, more stories shared, more lives potentially changed. But it also meant more time, more organization, more commitment. She thought about the woman she'd been a year ago, working herself to exhaustion while Derek contributed nothing. That woman would have said no, worried about taking on too much, afraid of being selfish with her time. But she wasn't that woman anymore. I'd love to discuss expansion, Simone typed. My schedule is flexible. Let me know when works for your team. She hit send and closed her laptop. Through her window, the city sparkled with possibility. Somewhere out there, Derek was probably miserable, facing consequences he'd brought on himself. Amber was probably bitter, angry at Simone for exposing their scheme. But Simone didn't think about them anymore. They were the past. A painful chapter that had taught her valuable lessons but had no place in her future. She picked up her phone and sent Jerome a text. Thank you for tonight. For everything. I know I don't say it enough, but you make me happy. His response came immediately. You make me happy too. Sweet dreams, Simone. Simone went to bed smiling, surrounded by the life she'd rebuilt from nothing. A life where she called the shots, made the rules, and never had to apologize for her strength. Derek had tried to take everything from her. Instead, he'd given her something better. The knowledge that she could survive anything, fight any battle, and come out stronger on the other side. And that knowledge was worth more than all the money Derek had tried to steal. 1 year after the party, Simone stood in a hotel ballroom accepting an award she never imagined receiving. The Women's Business Council had named her their Community Leadership Award winner for her financial literacy workshops that had now helped over 200 women across 3 states. When I started these workshops, Simone said into the microphone, looking out at the crowd of professional women, I wasn't trying to build something big. I was just trying to help women avoid the mistakes I made. I spent years ignoring red flags, allowing someone else to control my finances, not understanding my rights or protecting my assets. I don't want any woman to go through what I went through. The crowd applauded. Jerome, sitting at a front table with Patricia and Michelle, beamed with pride. Next to him, Simone's mother had flown in from Florida, her face glowing with joy. Financial abuse doesn't always look like someone stealing your credit cards, Simone continued. Sometimes it looks like a partner who dismisses your career as unimportant, who makes financial decisions without consulting you, who makes you feel guilty for wanting control over money you earned. It's insidious and it's more common than we want to admit. She shared her story, edited for time but honest about the betrayal, the fight, the recovery. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted 2 full minutes. After the ceremony, women lined up to talk to her. Some shared their own stories. Others asked for advice. A few just wanted to shake her hand and tell her she'd inspired them. "You saved my marriage," one woman said. "I took your workshop and realized my husband wasn't trying to control me, he was just bad at communication. We got couples counseling and now we have a joint financial plan we both understand. Your workshop gave us the tools to have hard conversations. Your workshop gave me the courage to leave," another woman said. "I was in a situation a lot like yours. Husband who contributed nothing but expected everything. I kept making excuses but hearing your story made me realize I deserved better. I filed for divorce last month." Patricia hugged Simone tightly. "You've done something remarkable. Turning your pain into purpose, helping all these women. I'm so proud of you." "I should be thanking you," Simone said. "Your support meant everything. You never made excuses for Derek, never tried to get me to give him another chance. You just believed me and stood by me. You made it easy to stand by you. You were always the strong one, Simone. Derek was lucky to have you for as long as he did." Patricia glanced around the elegant ballroom. "Have you heard anything about him lately?" "No. And I don't want to." Simone had maintained strict boundaries. Derek was blocked on all platforms. She'd instructed everyone she knew not to share information about him. "What? Has something happened?" "He moved out of my house last month. Got a job as an assistant manager at a hardware store. It's not much, but it's stable work." Patricia sighed. "I hope he's learned something from all this. I hope he's become a better person. But that's not your concern anymore." "No," Simone agreed. "It's not." Jerome appeared at her side, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "To the award winner." They clinked glasses and Simone let herself savor the moment. She'd worked so hard to get here. The promotion at the hospital had led to additional responsibilities. The workshops had expanded beyond her wildest expectations. She'd been featured in local news, written an op-ed for the state's largest newspaper, and been contacted by a publisher interested in turning her experience into a book. A book. The idea still seemed surreal. But the publisher had made a compelling case. Women needed these stories, needed to know they weren't alone, needed practical guidance on protecting themselves. "What do you think about the book idea?" Simone asked Jerome as they found a quiet corner. "Is it too much?" "Only you can answer that. Would writing it be therapeutic or traumatic?" Simone considered. "Both probably. But if it helps people, that makes it worth it." "Then you have your answer." Jerome kissed her temple. "You've never been one to shy away from hard things when they matter." Later that night, back in Simone's apartment, she and Jerome sat on her balcony overlooking the city. Her mother and Patricia had gone to their hotel, promising to meet for brunch tomorrow. It was just the two of them, comfortable in the quiet. "I've been thinking about something," Jerome said. "This might be too soon and you can absolutely say no, but I want to put it out there." "Okay. Move in with me." Jerome turned to face her. "We're together almost every night anyway. You're paying rent on this place when you could be building equity in mine. It makes practical sense." "Practical sense," Simone repeated, smiling. "How romantic. I'm trying not to pressure you. If I said, move in with me because I love you and want to wake up next to you every morning, that feels like a lot. Even though it's true?" "Even though it's very true." Jerome took her hand. "Look, I know you value your independence. I know Derek tried to control every aspect of your life, and I never want you to feel like I'm doing that. You keep this apartment if you want. You keep your own accounts, your own space. I just want more time with you." Simone looked at their joined hands. A year ago, the idea of living with someone would have terrified her. Too much trust required, too much vulnerability. But Jerome had proven himself over and over. He showed up. He supported her ambitions. He never once made her feel like his needs were more important than hers. "I'll think about it," she said. "Not because I'm unsure, but because I want to make sure I'm doing it for the right reasons." Because I want to, not because I'm afraid of being alone. That's fair. Jerome pulled her close. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. A week later, Simone made her decision. She gave notice on her apartment and started packing. But before she moved in with Jerome, there was something she needed to do. She drove to County General, where she'd been asked to speak to the new nursing graduates. 50 young nurses, fresh out of school, ready to start their careers. Simone remembered being in their position, full of hope and determination, not yet understanding how hard the work would be. Nursing will test you, Simone told them. It will challenge you physically, emotionally, mentally. You'll see things that break your heart. You'll work shifts that exhaust you. You'll question whether you're making a difference. She paused, making eye contact with several young women in the front row. But you will make a difference. Every patient you care for, every family you comfort, every emergency where you keep your head and do your job, that matters. You matter. And I need you to remember something else. Take care of yourselves. Set boundaries. Protect your time, your energy, your resources. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you don't owe anyone, not your employer, not your family, not your partner, you don't owe anyone your destruction. After the talk, a young nurse approached her. Miss Harris? I read about your story online. What happened with your ex-husband? I'm sorry you went through that. Thank you. But I'm not sorry it happened. Simone smiled at the young woman's confusion. That experience taught me things I needed to learn. About my strength. About my worth. About not accepting less than I deserve. It was terrible, but it made me who I am now. Who are you now? Someone who knows her value. Someone who fights for herself. Someone who helps other women do the same. Simone squeezed the nurse's shoulder. Be that person from the start. Don't wait for a crisis to learn your worth. That afternoon, Simone finished packing her apartment. She was going through old paperwork when she found the bank statements from before she'd protected her accounts. The ones showing Derek's unauthorized access attempts. She almost threw them away, then stopped. These papers represented a turning point. The moment she discovered the betrayal and decided to fight back. They were evidence of her victory, her strength, her refusal to be a victim. Simone tucked them into a folder labeled Closed Chapters, and filed it away. Not forgotten but finished. Her phone rang. It was Nicole from the Pearl. Simone. I haven't heard from you in months. How are you? Really good, actually. You. Great. Listen, I'm calling because we're hosting a women's entrepreneurship event next month, and I'd love for you to be a speaker. Your financial workshops, your consulting business, everything you've built, it's exactly the kind of success story we want to highlight. I'd be honored. Excellent. And Simone? I think about that night sometimes. The night you walked into that party and changed your entire life. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen. I don't know if it was brave or just necessary. It was both, Nicole said firmly. And it inspired a lot of women, including me. I left my boyfriend 2 months after your party. He wasn't abusive, but he wasn't right either. Watching you fight for yourself made me realize I deserved better too. So thank you. After hanging up, Simone sat with that conversation. She'd set out to protect herself, to stop Derek from stealing her money. She hadn't intended to inspire anyone or start a movement. But somehow, by fighting for herself, she'd given other women permission to fight for themselves too. The final night in her apartment, Jerome came over to help with the last boxes. They ordered pizza and sat on the floor, surrounded by the remnants of Simone's independent life. Second thoughts? Jerome asked. About moving in? No. Simone leaned against him. But I am a little scared. Last time I lived with someone, it ended in betrayal and divorce. I'm not Derek. I know. But knowing and feeling are different things. Simone turned to look at him. I need you to promise me something. If this doesn't work, if we realize we're better apart than together, we'll be honest about it. We won't drag it out or pretend things are fine when they're not. I promise. But Simone, I don't think that's going to happen. Why are you so sure? Because we're building something different than what you had with Derek. We're both independent, both successful, both committed to our own growth. We're choosing to be together not because we need each other but because we want to be. That's the foundation that lasts. Moving day came, and with it a strange sense of ceremony. Simone was closing one chapter and opening another. She took one last look at the apartment that had been her refuge, her fortress, her place to heal. Thank you, she whispered to the empty rooms, for giving me space to become who I needed to be. Jerome's house, when she arrived, had been transformed. He'd cleared space in his closet, emptied drawers, made room for her belongings in every sense. Welcome home, he said, pulling her into a hug. Our home. That night, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, Simone felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. Not the peace of being alone and safe from harm, but the peace of being with someone who made her feel secure while encouraging her strength. The next morning, Simone woke early and made coffee. She stood at Jerome's, their kitchen window, watching the sunrise, and thought about the journey that had brought her here. Derek had demanded $50,000 for his mistress's party. He tried to steal her savings, control her life, reduce her to nothing more than a source of income. He thought she was too soft, too weak, too compliant to fight back. He'd been catastrophically wrong. Simone had fought back with strategy, with evidence, with the kind of controlled fury that comes from years of working high-pressure jobs. She'd exposed him publicly, divorced him completely, and built a life that was richer and more fulfilling than anything she'd had before. The best revenge, Simone had learned, wasn't destroying the people who hurt you. It was building a life so magnificent that they became irrelevant. Derek was now just a name from her past, a lesson learned, a chapter closed. Amber was the same. They tried to take everything from her, and instead they'd given her the push she needed to become someone stronger. Jerome appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Too excited about today. Simone had a full schedule: morning shift at the hospital, afternoon workshop, evening dinner with the publisher to discuss the book deal. Busy woman. Happy woman, Simone corrected, turning in his arms to kiss him. Very happy woman. Her phone buzzed with a message. It was from one of her workshop participants, a woman named Tasha who'd left her financially abusive husband 3 months ago. I got a promotion today. First time in my life I'll have money that's completely mine, that no one can touch or control. I wanted you to know because you're the reason I had the courage to leave. Thank you for showing me what's possible. Simone showed the message to Jerome, her eyes bright with tears. This is what it's all about, she said. Not Derek's downfall or Amber's consequences. This, helping women see their worth and fight for themselves. You're changing lives, Simone. I'm trying. She set down her phone and took Jerome's hands. A year ago I thought my life was over. I thought losing Derek meant losing everything. But it turned out I wasn't losing anything. I was gaining myself. And now I have work I love. A relationship that fulfills me. A mission that matters. Money in the bank that no one can touch. Simone smiled. Now I have everything I never knew I wanted. That evening, after signing the book deal, after teaching her workshop, after coming home to Jerome and the life they were building together, Simone sat down to write the first chapter of her book. She began with a sentence that captured everything she'd learned. The thing about betrayal is that it rarely announces itself with fanfare, but the thing about survival is that it rarely asks for permission. Outside her window, the city lights sparkled with endless possibility. Somewhere out there were women in situations like hers had been, women who didn't know their worth, who were accepting less than they deserved, who needed someone to show them a different path. Simone would be that person. Through her workshops, through her book, through her story, she would help other women find their strength. Derek had tried to take her money, her dignity, her future. Instead, he'd given her purpose. And that, Simone thought as she typed the next sentence, was the ultimate victory. Not revenge, but transformation. Not destruction, but rebirth. Not the end of her story, but the beginning of the life she was always meant to live.